In Genesis chapter 18 verse 25, Abraham uttered a declaration of his confidence in God's perfect fairness and righteous judgment, and his trust in God as the ultimate judge. He called him the judge of all the earth. The concept of partnering with God through righteous judgment is found in Jewish tradition and in Torah teachings such as Deuteronomy Chapter 1 verse 16, where we are told not to show partiality in judgment, but to fear no man, for the judgment is God's. So while human judges are the agents of judgment here on earth, the ultimate authority and the source of justice belong to God himself. In the realms that are beyond space and time, yet pervasive and omnipresent in our day-to-day lives. The name of our weekly Torah portion this week is Parashat Shoftim. It is found in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 16 verse 18 up to 21 verse 9. The Hebrew word Shoftim means judges. So out of all the verses in this week's Torah portion, today we are going to zoom in on Deuteronomy chapter 19 verse 15. And I'm going to read that verse as follows. A single witness shall not stand up against any man for any iniquity or for any error regarding any sin that he may commit. By the testimony of 2 witnesses or by the testimony of 3 witnesses shall a matter be confirmed. This principle ensures that a minimum of 2 credible witnesses are necessary to convict someone of a crime. This would ensure that all convictions are based on substantial evidence. Herein lies the reason for the major challenge that the chief priests, the elders, and all the council experienced in their effort to justify the act of crucifying Yeshua. It was certainly not an easy task to find 2 witnesses to testify against the one who had no sin. We read about the beginning of Yeshua's trial in the book of Matthew chapter 26 verse 59 up to 66. I will read. Now the ruling Kohanim and all the Sanhedrin kept trying to get false testimony against Yeshua so they could put him to death, but they found none, though many witnesses came forward. At last 2 came forward and said, "This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days." The Kohen Gadol, that is the high priest, stood up and said to Yeshua, "Have you no answer? What's this they are testifying against you?" But Yeshua kept silent. The Kohen Gadol said to him, "I charge you under oath by the living God, tell us if you are Moshiach ben Elohim, that is, the Christ, the Son of God." "As you have said," replied Yeshua. "Besides that, I tell you, soon after you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the Kohen Gadol tore his clothes and said, "Blasphemy! Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, you've heard the blasphemy. What's your verdict?" "Guilty," they answered. "He deserves death." Based on the fact that those 2 witnesses came forward, as per this command in Deuteronomy chapter 19 verse 15, Yeshua was crucified, and that facilitated the victory on the stake at Calvary. However, these witnesses' accounts were challenged as being misinterpreted, because by destroying the temple and raising it up in 3 days, Yeshua was speaking metaphorically about his own body, not the building of the Jerusalem temple, but he was prophesying that his physical body was going to be destroyed through his death on the stake and raised up through his resurrection from the tomb in 3 days. Yet without this sacrificial death on the stake exactly on the holiday of Passover, his mission would not have been accomplished. This was exactly what was needed on the day of Passover in that special year for God's redemptive plan that was first prophesied by God himself in Genesis chapter 3 verse 15 to be effected upon humanity. Yeshua lived, died, and was resurrected within the Jewish faith, the Jewish customs, and the Jewish scriptures. He celebrated Jewish feasts. Not only did he celebrate the feast of Passover during his physical life on earth, he also participated in it in a way that only he could do on the day of his crucifixion. He himself is the fulfillment and embodiment of Scripture. Parashat, Shoftim, Judges. Thank you so much for watching, and Kol Tuv.